AllTrails sucks. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why AllTrails is the worst navigation app you can use. So hey folks, welcome to Greg Morton Outdoors. Glad you stopped by for the topic today. I know there's a lot of different navigation apps out there for backpacking and hiking, but it seems like AllTrails is a really popular one, especially for day hikes. But I'm going to tell you 5 reasons why you should not use it. And reason number 1, the distance listed on the description of the trail is always wrong. So if you use other apps like I do when I'm hiking, I might have my Samsung Health app open or something else. The distance that always comes back with, as compared to what AllTrails tells me, is something totally different. Even AllTrails itself, if you track your hike, by the time you're done, the distance is always different. Not to mention the elevation gain and loss. Same thing when you read the comments on the trail itself. You'll have people post things like, AllTrails said it was 6 miles, actually turned out to be 9. I myself found this to be true on my first big hike here in Colorado when I did Lost Creek Wilderness. I want to say it was advertised as a 22-mile loop. It turned out to be about 28. So if the miles are incorrect on AllTrails and that's what you're using to plan your trip, that can actually cause a lot of difficulties and may even ruin it. If you plan to resupply after so many miles, or if you plan to camp at certain points thinking that you're covering a certain amount of distance and the distance is much longer than what it actually says it is, that can have a huge impact, and that could actually, ruin your trip and cause some serious problems if you do things like, run out of food. Speaking of using the map to plan your trips, that takes me to number 2. The map information is always wrong. It seems like no matter where you're hiking, the information on the map is going to be incorrect. There's missing trails, there's missing streams, there's missing creeks. They say there are streams and creeks when they're not actually there. They say it's a straight trek up the mountainside when it actually turns out to be switchbacks for over a mile. Myself personally, on 2 separate occasions, this severely impacted my hike in the fact that I was planning on doing a water resupply at a certain point, only to find out there ain't no water. So what happened is I had to tack on an additional 4 miles each time to get to a water source. And I did that when I was bone dry with what I had. I had run out of water. So if you are using AllTrails, keep that in mind, that the water sources listed on their map might not be there. One thing that the map was incorrect about as well is showing private property. So this year I went and hiked a portion of the San Isabel Forest. Had not been there before, mapped out my route using AllTrails. I combined a few of their existing trails into my own. At the end of day 1, once again, going towards a water source, at the end of the road, gate, big signs, private property, stay out. If you come in here, you're going to get shot. We've got vicious alien guard dogs with lasers on their heads, whatever, a whole bunch of stuff up there. My point is, hey, I've got about, half a liter left of water, and the creek is over that way. That caused me to have to go onto this private property. I ended up stealth camping that night on the private property. And the next day I hustled out as soon as I could to get away from there, which it only took me about a quarter mile to get off the guy's property. But just the fact that I was forced to do that because of the inaccuracy of AllTrails really ticked me off, and that really ruined my hike. But to make it that much worse, shortly after I got off of this person's property, I came across a site of dilapidated, rundown ranger station remnants, and right next to it is a marked trail that said Ranger Trail. Come to find out, after I got home and looked on other navigation apps, that trail actually intersected the other trail I was on, and also would have taken me down to the water source. So if AllTrails had that trail listed, that has been there for decades, I could have cut out that guy's personal property and I wouldn't have to stealth camp like that. So we're now on number 3, and that is the information in the comments by the users is always wrong. So it never fails. There's always user comments that underplay any of the trails on the app. The app can say it's hard, and you're going to have, a few people underplaying it. Oh, it's not that bad. Oh, it's easy. Oh, that section, it's not a problem. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Only to find out, if you looked on like their Facebook bio, they summited Mount Everest. So the comments are always wrong. And now we're up to number 4, and that is the tracking on the app is always wrong. So when you're out there on your hike and you've got AllTrails open, you've got the app started, it's tracking your hike, you take a break, you look down and say, okay, where am I? I guarantee you, I will bet anything on it, that what AllTrails says and where you actually are 2 totally separate things. Once again, back to my San Isabel hike, I was looking for a specific fork in the road or fork in the trail where I would pick up a new trail that would take me back towards the one where I could get back to my truck. At this point in the trip, my trust in AllTrails had already been shaken from enough bad information. When I looked at AllTrails and I said, well, I'm standing here, where's the fork? It's nowhere to be found. I now started doing a cloverleaf search pattern, going around that point, looking for where the trail possibly was. I ended up going about, 150, 200 yards farther down the trail, and lo and behold, clearly marked with signs and everything else, there was the new trail I was going to pick up. If I have relied totally on AllTrails, I would probably still be out there freaking out, saying, oh my God, where's the trail? First of all, if that ever happens, just stay calm. You're okay. You're going to find your way out. And lastly, and probably most importantly, why I think AllTrails is the worst navigation app out there, they will certify anything as a trail. So maybe while you're watching this video, or maybe when you're done, what I want you to do is open up AllTrails, and in the search, I want you to look for the Morton Loop Trail, or MOLT, M-O-L-T, and see what you get. That's right, that's what you get right there. So last year during COVID, I got up one morning in the wintertime and it was snowing outside, and I decided, I'm going to go outside and walk around in the snow. And as a joke, I opened up AllTrails to map my route. So I grabbed my cup of coffee and I went out my front door, hooked a left, and walked around the block, taking pictures as I went. When I got home, I uploaded the pictures, a description of what I had just done, and submitted it to AllTrails. They certified it as a trail. So, with that in mind, I want you to take a look at the holder of the fastest known time for the Morton Loop Trail. I am the FKT holder for that. And I challenge any of you out there to come and break my time. And if you do, just remember, it's got to be done in the wintertime, in the morning before the sun comes up, during a snowstorm, drinking a cup of coffee. And honestly, if you want to come out here and try and beat that time, you can come stay at my house. I'll give you the coffee. I'll make you breakfast. So you might be thinking, okay, got it, Greg. You hate AllTrails, so what do you use? Well, there's a few apps that I do use. Now my main navigation that I use is Onyx, O-N-X, Backcountry. That has turned out to be a pretty good app. The yearly cost is the same as as AllTrails. I haven't played with it as much as I needed to because a lot of the trails that I've been hitting here lately are pretty populated and they're easy to follow, so I don't really need a navigation app while I've been doing it. For here in Colorado, you've got COTrex or COTrex, spelled COTREX. That is run by the Colorado Department of Wildlife, and it's kind of like Onyx, but it's of course nothing but Colorado trails, and it's absolutely free. So if you're here in Colorado or if you're coming out to Colorado, that could be something to take a look at. During the summer, when I did my portion on the Colorado Trail, I used Gut Hook, which recently has been changed to something called Far Out. What freaking leftover dumbass hippie from the 60s decided to change the name? Okay, y'all need to change it back. It's damn Gut Hook. And I found Gut Hook to be a very good app, especially for that trail. My only minor gripe with it is there's a lot more water sources than what the app says. So several points on the trail, I thought, okay, I've got to go, 5 miles here before I hit my next creek, when there were a couple, 2 or 3 maybe smaller streams, little creeks in between there that I could have filled up on very easily. So just keep that in mind if you are using Gut Hook. So there you go. There's my grumpy old guy rant on AllTrails. If you've had different experience with that, let me know. Tell me I'm wrong. Please show me I'm wrong about it. Maybe, maybe I'm not using it right. I don't know. Let me know what apps you use for navigation. I'm always up to try and find something new. All right, folks, that's it for me here. We'll talk to you soon.